So here, the first case we're given is that two trains that are m miles apart, they are traveling towards each other. So I'm going to call the rates R1, R2, and R1 is greater than R2. So that's the faster train. And we're told that they will pass each other in t hours, meaning they meet at some point, and that happens after t hours. So we can find the distance traveled by the faster train would be rate times R1t, and same thing for the other train, R2t. And the condition when they meet is that they've covered this entire m miles. So that condition is that the sum of the distances they've traveled up until the point they meet is equal to m. So that's our first relationship. Now, the second one says that if they were to travel in the same direction with m miles apart, so let's say this is the slower one is here, they're m miles apart, and they will meet each other in u hours. So that means that wherever they meet, let's say this is that point where both R1 and R2 reach. That happens after u hours. So the distance that the faster train has traveled is its rate times the time u, whereas the slower train has also traveled R2 times u. Now, if we look at this, the total distance traveled by the faster train, this here would be made up of the distance it has to make up, which is m, plus the distance that the other train, the slower train, has traveled. So that's the condition that tells us what how these are related. Now, our goal is to find the ratio of the speed. So I'm going to actually move the terms. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to leave it. Yeah, I will move it to the other side. So R1, because I noticed there's a u there that can be factored. So I essentially get R1 minus R2 is m over u. If you look at this equation, it's R1 plus R2 is m over t. So we have two equations. We can solve for the either solve for the variables by adding and subtracting these equations. So for example, if I add these two, the R2 terms disappear. 2R1 is m over t plus m over u. So R1 is half. I'm going to factor m, and I'll leave it in that form. And to find R2, I'll subtract these two equations. So that would become 2R2. You should also try to do this algebra. It just helps you to manipulate these terms. And so therefore, I'll just try to squeeze it here, is m over 2, 1 over t, minus 1 over u. So now the question is, what's the ratio of these two quantities? So I'm going to be skipping some steps because half m is the same on both, so that drops out. So it would just be ratio of 1 over t plus 1 over u over 1 over t minus 1 over u. So if you add this, you'll get u plus t. Now the denominator would be ut, and you'll notice you'll get also a ut here. So those would drop out, and you'll just end up with u plus t over u minus t, which is answer choice C.